Probably not.
Yeah.
Or you can even put it onto like a website too, like if anybody has like a, if you put it like a hidden portal to it or whatever. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I can share.
When I was looking at DDO, of course, we had like a thing for like this one.
Ally said hi.
Yeah, we'll get organized.
Good. I'm with me. We had one pot left where she came. Oh, my God. Thanks to G. Yeah, of course. Perfect. Hi.
Oh, hello.
What? We can make 9 o'clock meetings.
Okay, good. Well,
Pin drop.
yeah, I wasn't an 18 person either, but it was what it was, so. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so we can get started. And I think, will it find me for enough, or should I? I think it'll be about, yeah, it'll eventually find me. Well, thank you, Heidi and Bree and everyone for hosting us here. And after chatting with them earlier, when they offered that we could use this nice conference room with cool high tech as a meeting space, it felt like a good way to hopefully bring in more people. And for those of us who like to be face to face, we can be here. And for people that Zoom is more convenient, we can do that. We can actually record it, so we can watch it. Only when they don't have a life outside of work. They really don't have a life, then they should watch all the videos on the South Dakota Museum YouTube channel. That's really more interesting, but yeah, it's kind of been the Jake and Carolyn show for the last, I don't know, quite a while. And Heidi stepped in and kind of helped brainstorm some topics for upcoming meetings and think through timing. Is a 9 o'clock meeting more conducive to people? And we'll find out. There's probably some 8:15 people that are saying, no, that was when I could do it, and now my Friday mornings are booked, but we'll see if we can make this work. You want to share the schedule that we're starting to work on. What you will see is that we're going to play with having 2 meetings consecutive months here and through Zoom, but then change it up with a social hour on a Thursday afternoon, 4 to 5, with a theme or not, but really just a chance to get to know people more informally. And so on Thursday, the 27th of April will be our first at Cubby's 4 to 5 gathering. And we're looking ahead to May, which will be the mental health awareness month. So we're calling it our mental health break. Gather in April. I unfortunately am hosting a virtual artist chat during that whole period, so I won't be there, but hopefully lots of people can be. I guess in Cubby's, there's a meeting room at the back where we'll be. And then, yeah, looking ahead, so it'll be kind of that every other, starting May, June, we'll be here. And back at Cubby's. And as I say, this is kind of work in progress, and I can send out. This is after we have a chance to review it a little more fine-tooth comb. But in general, how do you feel about this change? I like it. I certainly like this room, so.
I have found that the walk-in freezer runs a lot, and so we get this little hum going over here, but we'll pretend it's not there, right? It's
Soothing.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that is an owl.
Yeah, yeah, and with the owl, follow us around, for the folks on Zoom. So, and now I can follow Ashley, who can share.
Yeah, so we invited Ashley Bigger today from the Swift Hill Center. Her Director of Marketing is your current title there, right?
Sure.
Woman of all. We don't know what it is.
Hello, welcome. Hey. There's a chair behind you.
And so Ashley's here to kind of talk about all things events. A lot of times with nonprofits, it's you either have walked into, or, you know, you're part of an organization that does a lot of events, or maybe they don't do any events. Maybe it's one big one, maybe it's a bunch of small ones. Maybe you have board members saying, "Hey, we need to do more events," all of those different kind of things. But Ashley, in many of her lives, have done a lot of things about events. So I asked her just to share kind of some of her top tips and information. She has a wealth of knowledge, and certainly we are not going to get everything from her in the next 20 minutes or so, but she's a great resource to have in the community, and just joined our board on Monday, so.
Yay.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna time this while I'm talking, so I can talk for like 20 hours, so I'm talking for 10 minutes and then we're getting questions. Right?
Okay, sounds good.
Right, because I can really talk forever, so I always like to keep it timer. So Ashley Bigger, Director of Marketing at the Swift Health Center. That line, other duties as a sign, just keep getting larger for me sometimes, because I know too much, so, which is really great, because that means I can be helpful to the whole team, so. I've been helping out with events for the last month, so I jokingly said sure. I love events. I love nonprofits too, so this is a great topic to speak on. I kind of tailored this more to nonprofits in particular, because I've been a nonprofit doing events, especially directed towards fundraising. Because there's a lot that goes into it for sure, and you want to make sure that what you're doing makes a difference. You're not just doing an event to do an event because somebody had a cool idea, and well, this costs us time, talent, and money, and now why do we do this? So I'm just thinking about that. But first and foremost, I feel like one of the key components to any great event planning or team in general is communication, right? That clear, concise, consistent communication. And that goes with all parties involved. That's not just your team, that's not just your volunteers, that's your vendors, that public facing. Thinking about that communication, as well as what does that chain of command. And I used to hate the terminology like that chain of command, but really, especially with event planning with so many moving components, if you're looking at like something big or small, I mean, really, like who's handling, let's say you were doing ticketing. I mean, that's like, who's handling all the ticketing stuff that's coming in? Who's collecting all the money? Who's working with the venue? Who's working with the volunteers? Is there one person that's overarching all of those things? It's just really important to help streamline making decisions, right? Like if you don't know who's in charge, then we're having this like, I don't know. What do you think? You know, then it's not good or bad or indifferent, it just is. So it just really helps the success of the event if you know who is in charge of what. That's all. And it's not like you're in charge, right? Like we're all in this together kind of thing, but it's just to help. And that communication with the public is very important too. Making sure that you know how you're delivering information to the public. Making sure that you're putting all the information they need, right? Thinking about that communication, like that's huge. So that's the first thing, is just basically the communication with everybody. And then second of all, just one of my favorite things is planning for scenario A through Z, because you just never know what's gonna happen, right? The only constant in life is change. That was the first thing I was told when I started at the Swift Health Center. It was really funny. My boss was like, hey, only constant in life is change. And with events. So like, my huge thing is to control what I can control. So if I can have plans put in place ahead of time, then we won't have a problem. I'd rather plan than have a problem. I mean, you can't think about everything, honestly, you can't. But if you think through scenarios, chances are you'll be more able to adapt in a really weird situation. You know, one of those examples is if you ever have an outside event. They're super fun. Weather is super fun. Or just events in the winter time, right? That's like what a lot of us, it feels like a lot of fundraising events, like galas and stuff like that. You guys you're able to do it. Nothing bad happened on that day, but I've seen it happen before where things have gotten canceled because of weather. And so having those plans, like what does this look like? Can we plan to bring this event inside? can we plan to postpone this event? Will we have to cancel this event entirely? Like, what does this look like? And having that forethought. So again, that you have a solution, not a problem when you get to that point. And sometimes too, having those different scenarios and working through them, then you can look at each one and go, okay, like this makes the most sense. For example, downtown at sundown, we were looking at changing the location of it because it had outgrown that Fifth Street, right in front of like Wooden Lakes and Winks. We're like, okay, well, I actually went through, took like an aerial view and like looked through each possible scenario, made a list of pros and cons, and came up with the best solution. Now, was there no problems associated with that solution? Yeah, that's not feasible. That's not gonna happen. There's always gonna be something, but it's the best possible solution. And so that's really key. But like I said, just in having those plans and sitting down with those people that are on your team and discussing those plans makes a lot of sense. Now this is for if you're trying to like fundraise too, because a lot of times we do events to fundraise in the nonprofit field. I do events to make money, like we don't want to not make money. And don't just think about budget as in money, it's time. And it's where you're putting your talent towards. So like, does this actually make sense? So think about that when we're talking about budget as well, even if you're doing something, not trying to make money off of it. So creating a realistic budget and sticking with it. So considering all the costs associated with the event, and sometimes that's hard to think about, but really, you know, analyzing each component. Maybe you have a higher version of it at first that you've kind of guesstimating those costs just to make sure it makes sense to do the event. But then really dumbing it down to see like, okay, like how much is this actually going to cost us? Because sometimes you're like, oh, I got this really cool idea. Totally easy. Like we should have like a rave at this hotel center for United Way. But if we did that, chances are the cost would be pretty high. Like the insurance, for example, like I might not have really good insurance if I'm having a rave at this hotel center. Like, don't know why, but could happen. So just considering all those costs, you know, people, goods, services, permits, advertising, like really thinking through the event. And then making a plan for revenue and do not undervalue what you're providing, especially in the nonprofit field. Like, I know people like to get mad about ticket prices. They do it everywhere, but like what you're doing is fundraising. If you're trying to fundraise for an event and stick to your guidance, like that is, you are trying to support your cause. And so somebody being like, oh, that's too much. Like, I'm sorry, like this is exactly. They're not everybody's gonna be your customer. That's a great point. Not everybody is your customer, and that's okay. And if they can't see your mission and value, then not throwing the event to have an event, but throwing the event to fundraise. And then thinking about, you know, worst case scenario too, like when I'm making that plan, like what is the worst case scenario? So like, let's say like, what is realistic for this event too? Like a realistic worst case scenario that like, I like to understand my break even point, because although it alleviates my anxiety about things like where. So I'll create multiple pathways for my budget to understand, because it will also help me to to firm up whether or not this event should exist, right? Like if it's not feasible, again, time, talent, and treasure too, not just the budget itself, but like looking at it, like we're only gonna make $100 off this event and we're gonna put X amount of stuff on our story that like, this doesn't make sense. But that's not just it too, like maybe it has a huge impact in what it does. So like looking at everything involved with it. And understanding that break even point, understanding where your goal is, just so that you can have those markers to help you through the process. It also helps hold momentum up, I think, too, like when things are going, or you know, when you have to like redirect efforts too, right? Like if I'm not hitting my budget, let's say I got my budget put together, I know where my break even point is, we're not pulling ticket sales, which is, if you have a ticketed event, it's happening a lot lately, like across the board. So trust me, I can help you, alleviate you with anything. It's happening to everybody everywhere. Nobody wants to commit to anything until last minute right now. And it sucks, but it is what it is right now. And hopefully that will go back, but yeah. But then maybe if you're seeing that happen, like, do we need to look at marketing? Do we need to tap into our resources, which will leveraging your assets and strategizing, utilizing every component that you have for the best fit and maximizing its potential. So like if I have a volunteer or a team member that's really good at one thing and I put them in another area, does that make sense? No, like for example, I've helped out for years now with Palms for Wine. I stay out of the raffle. I stay out of the raffle. I don't want to work with the raffle. It's not my jam. I work on decorating and making cupcakes and helping out with facilitating the stuff at the facility. That makes sense. And like, there's certain things we take and it makes sense for me, because I only have so much time and my talent should probably be put towards my strengths. Honestly, like me picking up baskets at places is not a good use of my time. So, that like for the team too, like thinking about how the components fit with each other too. That's why it says strategize too, like thinking how your team works together. And team, to me, isn't just staff, it's everybody involved. I think about like team working is even like we're all in this together. Honestly, it's not as hokey as it sounds sometimes. I truly believe that like we're all part of a big unit coming together to support each other. Like thinking about too, with leveraging your assets and strategizing. Like if you have a venue, like, okay, let's say, example, I know events that have been at one venue that they had to do everything. Where they could pay a little bit more and do it elsewhere and have the venue do it, like, what makes more sense? Like, okay, we're saving $500. Or we're going to drain ourselves to get that $500 overall. Grand picture, does this make sense just to pay somebody else to do it? Like, yes, unless you're like starting off and you're trying to figure out if that's gonna even pick off. And then, you know, too, thinking about leveraging assets. Like marketing too, again, I'm director of marketing, so probably should talk about marketing. But like thinking about as nonprofits, like we can tap into in the community, like free with radio or newspaper or another print ad. Is there anybody that will help you for free advertise your event? And then also like engaging with your stakeholders that are tied to the event. So board members, sponsors can make sure you're posting and talk about it. Everybody, every volunteer that's involved, can they like and share your stuff, and just making sure that you're communicating that back to them. Cause then they can help you, help us, help it all, you know what I mean? So, and then last, I'm going over a little bit, well, whatever, I can talk about this for 25 hours, so. Know your why and be kind. Events are super hard. They're not for like, they're not one of those things that I can like, they're really cool. Like you see the worst and the best happen in situations with events, like thinking about weddings, like bridezilla. The bridezilla is probably the bridezilla because you don't know about the fact that grandma and mom and the mother-in-law are doing all this stuff behind the scenes and she's trying to control what she can. There's usually a reason for things. Both like the worst and best come out in people during the planning as well as the execution. And so just understanding the why and really relaying that through the communication to the team as a whole to like understand the why for the event and the organization, and just really maintaining that attitude of service and understanding and compassion. It just helps, right? Like we're all in this together, like people make mistakes too. I've made tons of mistakes. And so I try to think about that, and personally, I've done things before in the past where I've blown up, not blown up, I don't really blow up, but I reacted in a way that's not, I don't really blow up, honestly. I don't think it, but I've reacted in ways that I don't like afterwards, and I'm really quick to apologize. And pause too, like if some situation's feeling intense during an event, even with our team sometimes, like stuff happens, like hopefully client never sees that, and hopefully your public never sees that, right? Always say to act like a duck. You're calm, cool, collective on the outside, and you're on the inside. That can be with your emotions too, just kind of like holding it for a second, also still feeling and processing through it, addressing situations as they come up, but really thinking about it like, do I need to do this right now? No, I'm not gonna talk about this right now. We're gonna put it on the shelf. I'll hold the book down later. We can discuss it later. Because we're really with events too, like you can have time to. Sometimes I don't have time to feel like we just need to keep moving and then we'll get back to it. So, and it's okay to like, events are stressful. Just remember that too for yourself. Events are stressful. They are. I've had really stressful weeks before. I've gone home and bawled. And then I felt fine the next week. So it's not like, don't not feel, and this is in general being a nonprofit, like stuff gets hard. So it's important to feel your feelings, but also to find solutions too. And to, I have a tribe of people that I communicate with. select few, and they help me to be able to realize what should be done with the situation, so. But be kind, everybody's going through a lot of things, we know that too, by working with people in the nonprofit spectrum, your people that you serve, you can see that too, so I think we already know that, but you never know, events really do some weird things to people, so. But, okay, now. I talked really a lot, so there's my contact information too, we're gonna let you guys ask me questions. But my contact information is on there, that cell phone number is actually my personal cell. And these are not the opinions of the Swift Health Center, but I am with the Swift Health Center.
This is very good. Thank you for putting it on paper too. I love that.
Question. Comments.
I like how you talked about like realistic budget. Sometimes I feel like in the nonprofit world, especially as we get board members and things coming up with great ideas, sometimes it's okay to say no, like you don't need to add to the event, to just add. Like what's the reason that we're adding? Is it providing back to the why of things? So. They have some great ideas.
And I've been a person with a great idea before, and then sometimes it'd be like, oh, would you like to do that? Which is not like being mean, I'm saying like redirect it onto them, like, oh, like, how would you like to take that? And then they'll be like, well, no, and then they'll be like, okay, then maybe we should just put that on the shelf. And that's something too, is like acknowledging those good ideas, like they're good, and maybe they will be beneficial later, like, who am I to say something's good or bad or indifferent, but like, we can't feasibly do this right now. I'm gonna capture your thoughts. And then let's pull it back and like think about it, because not everything is doable, like even with like weddings, any event, like, right, like a wedding, like I want this, and this, what's your budget? Like my kid even knows to ask me, like, what's your budget? I trained him really well. I'll be like, what's my budget? Like Christmas and stuff like that, or birthday gifts. Shopping. It's like, it helps to with creativity, because there's this framework, like in order to be creative, you need a framework. Like if I have endless possibilities as an artist, even like I will start to go, I don't know right now, there's too much, so budgets are good. Great point, budgets.
So who here holds fundraising of this event?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's this, sure, yeah, and then do any of you hold events that are more just sharing your story and celebration, yeah.
I mean, you talked about having that support of other people to talk to and want to go out. I don't know if I did make it through this last month because we have had to change our packing night and delivery almost every week for the last 5 weeks. And these guys are the ones that have to listen to me complain. Everybody. But it, yeah, as you get that kind of close to going, yeah. So that's really important.
What is it like, so you say, you talk about communication, and I've struggled with this in the past, like leading events, you know, people have the idea of, well, oh, let's make a Facebook group. You know, and that was done and nobody engages or uses it, so then, you know, it got deleted, and then, you know, and other things that I'm a volunteer with or anything like that, you know, communication, but how do you find the best way, or is it better to just over communicate on every single platform?
And that's a great question. It really comes down to, again, like looking at the overall picture and understanding like, what can I feasibly do? Like sustainability is huge, like not burning out and understanding like, I can't provide to my group as a whole if I'm not taking care of myself, and we cannot do everything like you're talking about. We can't do everything. And so either setting up a boundary that's like, this is how we're going to communicate and lay that groundwork on the front end, so people aren't asking for more on the back end, or having that knowledge base of previous things that we've done. And again, it's not saying that we can't re-examine things, but like, hey, from my past experience, doing X, Y, and Z was not beneficial for us. We have found that Z, Y, X actually works better. But it's hard, like the communication piece. Yeah, there's like people, like even marketing, for example. Honestly, I have to market in every different way because somebody's, especially if we're looking at events that might hit like a multiple demographic, not everybody gets their communication the same way. So it's making that decision of how, what, like thinking things through, like, it's gonna depend on the situation too. It's not all or nothing. More and more I get older and older, everything's just 50 shades of gray. I don't know about you, but, it's just, it's one of those things that, like, I've had, for example, like when I was staffing at this hotel center, I would send out the schedule. Okay, people wouldn't sign up. So then, or I'd still have open shifts and stuff if they wouldn't do it. But I'd still have open shifts, especially like Kane Brown, this is this concert. Okay, so like, what do I do now? So then I would text people, and then if they didn't text, then I would call them. So at least I had a system put in place that made sense to me and the group as a whole. And that goes to like feedback too from events. One person might have a complaint. 9 times out of 10, we'll get a complaint about like one person that's gonna complain about the temperature in the room, like one person. It's okay, like if you're that person too, I'm not just, I'm just saying, like, there's gonna be that one person, and I appreciate the feedback too, so maybe it's that one person that's actually stepping up and providing feedback. My job is to look at it and go, okay, like, for the group as a whole, what makes sense? So if there's somebody that's wearing like a sleeveless shirt, and there's a group of people that are wearing like snowmobiling gear, like, if that person's hot and the rest of them are cold, or that person's cold, the rest of them are hot. Like, I'm not gonna change the temperature for that one person, if that makes sense, like, what's good for the group as a whole. But again, too, like examining, like sometimes we would get feedback in other situations where, yeah, like maybe a few people commented on something and maybe it did make sense to adjust and change something, and maybe it didn't make sense. And it's hard, yeah, like there's a lot of different like Facebook groups, I like them, but also like I can't keep up with my Facebook group. Like people are like, did you see that thing in the Facebook group? And I'll be like, oh, no, it doesn't pop on my feed because Facebook relies on an algorithm, and if you're not checking into that feed, I can miss stuff all the time. I mean, there's just so much coming into us on a daily basis too, so yeah. That communication thing too, I'm just thinking about that too, like, I like to put things on paper when I give it to people too, or at least I've thought through everything. It's partially for me too, because then I understand when I'm trying to communicate. A lot of times with events and other things, we have a short amount of time to deliver a lot of information to people that are helping us. And so I'll make what's called an event information sheet, and I did it at the hotel center, and then I actually brought it when I did stuff at the chamber, and then I brought it to when we worked at SDCEO. It's just, and I actually brought it to me when I was volunteering, helping, I still am helping with Humane Society. I just like to have all the information on paper, and it's provided to everybody, because also they're second set of eyes if I miss something, because I'm human and I'm gonna make a mistake somewhere. Usually it's gonna be a spelling one somewhere, and it would feel really bad if they're like, hey, they're like, oh, yep. But yeah. Yeah, and then I can also communicate everywhere and nobody will see something. Like, I can tell you how many ads I put out and what placements I did for Magical Sir Christmas, and people still didn't know it existed. If you're not. We have a lot of information coming in on us on a daily basis, and it keeps getting more and more, so.
Well, I find for the museum, we have to cover all our bases, but at least if I can have a consistent set of content that's easy to play across all those channels, that saves a little bit of time on my part.
Yeah, that's the thing, like even like making that event information sheet for like our ticketing gal will make up her ticketing sheet, and then I'll have, like, I have a document from my marketing stuff. So if I make something right one place once, then I can change it over. Also, another problem too is the more items that you're communicating, the more areas that you're communicating in, is the more areas you can have errors, because you have to now update every area too.
You mean the artist who wanted to be called James, not Jim, after we.
Yeah, so that's the thing important to realize too, is like, where am I putting this information, or like, is it even necessary to like, really, I know like. The clear, like, that's part of the clear part, I think too, is just concise, like understanding what needs to be communicated and what doesn't necessarily need to be communicated is important. Because sometimes like, yeah, it's like TMDR, too much in brief, like, I'm not gonna pay attention to all this. And then it's less areas for mistakes too, but need to have enough too. It's
Not United Way, I don't feel like we do like a big event fundraiser or those kind of things, and part of it is, I'm concerned about the time and talent we have to put into something, but then I'm like, well, I don't wanna do the truck raffle, cause that's already done, I don't wanna do the gala, cause that's already, trying to find what that new thing is that will, people will wanna get involved in, and I don't have that magic idea yet of what makes sense in our community. If anybody has that magic idea, I'll take it now.
Great.
Give it to you.
Money's coming to you, Travis. Yeah, so Ashley, that's where we come up with the rave at the Swiftel, that's our joke. Is
That was a joke.
Like, I don't even know what a rave is, but we're gonna do it in different sections, so I can be home. I'm taking the 5 to 7 shift and then I'm going back, like, what'd you say? I know, that's. Oh,
Oh, I think that's the important thing too, or if you have an event, like I like to in the chamber world, they call it R&D, rip off and duplicate. Like, if you see another place, it's not a bad thing, like we were like,
that's flattering.
it's flattering, yes, exactly, in art is flattering, right? It's flattering, so I know that from personal life, but, so, yeah, like, I like to look at different communities and see what they're doing. We did that with downtown at Sundown. That's why it got improved the way it got improved. I feel like it's improved. If you think it's not improved, well, I don't care about there anymore. But anyway, I went to different, I chose to stay in South Dakota and go to different events. Like I went to Mitchell and over to Rapid. Because Rapid's got a huge successful downtown at Sundown-esque event, and so I wanted to physically be there and walk through it so I could experience and feel it and figure out what they're doing well that we could take back and put into downtown and Sundown and Brookings. Because again, there's lots of great ideas, but are they actually feasible and doable within our community? And some of the answer is no. Like I will have marketing calls with people that are in the Dallas Park Arena place, and this guy will have this cool idea. I should get a bus and make it, it would be a really cool idea. Like I should get this bus and I can have it go travel around and promote shows. Really cool idea. Don't have the budget for that. I don't know where, I wish I had your budget. Sounds like a lot of fun. I don't have that, but what can I do with what I do find? So that's why if I try to find a more place, I utilize South Dakota because I knew that we had the same laws statewide. And if there was something specific to the city, chances were I could then talk. So we got rid of the snow barricade stuff that was around the perimeter of the event, because after having a conversation with the city, it just I was like, they don't do this in other communities. Why are do we have to do this? He's like, that's how it was that's how people understood the ordinance, but really you just have to define the perimeter. You don't actually have to have snow barricade. And so we were able to remove that, and it saved us so much time, and it really helped the connectivity of the event with the downtown, which was the key component of having it anyways, was to have that feeling of community and that in and out of walking space. We still did what you're supposed to do. We still said, do not bring your booze at this point, please, or you're not drinking in public, especially on you, but do it. I like to look at different events in different places, and see what's feasible. There's lots of good ideas. If you need ideas, I have a couple friends that can shoot off 50,000 of them at once.
What are your feelings on operations manuals for that? I have people with differing opinions. We have barely anything written down. It's just been a past group of volunteers, but those volunteers are aging, and I think a lot of people experience that issue. But then we have people that say, I don't want to write it down because then that means it's locked in place, and I don't want this to be locked in place.
I think it's how you look at it. Is it, maybe it's what you call it too, if it's an operations manual, or is it an event information sheet, or is it an event info packet? Is it the semantics around words? Sometimes people get stuck in what it means, if I'm approving something versus I just need to check it off and see if it's gonna work or not. I don't actually need to approve it. And that's maybe where that's coming into play, is that people feel like they're gonna get stuck.
Putting a timeline on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, that's like my event information sheet, and that's the way of communicating too, right? Like you said, you're gonna, and also capturing that information. Like, yeah, what if all those people like are gone because they all win the lottery and moved to Jamaica? I don't know what's gonna happen, but, like, then you don't have that information and you don't have that. So that's, I think, another way of like looking at that is like, okay, so if you are gone tomorrow, we can't do this event then because you are the holder of all that history and knowledge. Like, help me continue this to be successful. Not a threat or a locked in position. It's just being able
There
to
to
share
take you
information.
away tomorrow.
I'm gonna win lottery. But here you have to like, yeah, you actually gain the win, so. I think put it $10. $20 a year, so. But yeah, I'm huge on collecting information and having it down and thinking through it. That's part of planning. If I don't know that you're doing this, and you're doing it, yeah. I don't know what I don't know, and now am I gonna also do more work because I don't know what you're doing? Like, there's a lot of, yeah. Doesn't make sense. There's a better way of doing it, and some people don't like change and that's threatening. And that's also a thing is like understanding, like, again, if you had an event or something going on for a while, and there's people that are really, they're really passionate about how it's currently done, like sometimes stepping back and going, okay, you know what, we're just gonna continue to let this go this way because it's working okay, and for now, for the good of the group, it just makes sense to keep it this way. But knowing in the future, like, maybe we would wanna change this, or can I gently guide this in a different direction? Especially when you're working with volunteers and crazy board members that wanna have raves. It's really funny.
Yeah. I don't have to go home. If I go home, I'm gonna stay home, but like straight after work. So if I'm, yeah.
It's the time.
They're in the 5 o'clock.
You have the 5 o'clock start.
I think it's about 5:14 over.
And we're serving chamomile tea shots. So.
Well, yes, thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, if you ever wanna chat, we're here to help. Also shameless plug, if you ever want to have people volunteer at the Simsal Center, we will pay your organization to have people come volunteer to be an usher, or if they wanna help us with security, which really isn't security, we would put you in place weird. Not like by the barricade, because that would make sense, but, or like cleanup groups, we're always looking for cleanup groups afterwards, and it pays out really nice, and you can just get a group of people together.
How large a group do you typically ask for?
That's a great question for the cleanup group. I don't deal with that as much. I think it's like, we've had groups as little as like 5 to 10. We've had the 8th graders that are going to, like, she didn't, like, they came and cleaned one time. Like, there's tons, and our events are all across the board as far as timing, but like, really, it doesn't take that long. The more people you can get, the quicker it goes, and you get paid out the same. So if we pay a like amount, I think it's, and I don't want to quote it because I'm not sure on it, but I can get you that information. Can get it for you. So yeah. There's always opportunities too, so yeah, like, oh, and also we have Uncle Sam Jam that we're planning, so if you want to do something at the Uncle Sam Jam, I might be organizing it, so if you want to do something, we'd love to involve the community more, so we want to have a face painting booth, because I will not be doing that this year. I'll tell you how to face paint, I don't know, so. I taught Heidi how to face paint once. Didn't you come in for my training? I think Kathy was there, weren't you? You didn't? They're fine. They don't care. They don't care.
The first one wanted this, the dolphin or something different. I said, what the dolphin?
Like redirect. Redirect.
He was fine with it, but he had with the ball afterwards. He was my favorite thing.
Yeah. Or if there's something unique, fun, if you ever want to talk or brainstorm an idea. I'm here to help you. Help us all. Go team Brookings.
Well, and in the interest of team, ECNT, let's do a quick round table with, key things that we're working on, and especially things for the good of the order that would be leverageable. That'd be great. Oh, there. That's Anna.
With events. We have a few events coming up, or trainings. We had an ACES training yesterday and 17 people attended, which was good. We have a question for training on April 6th. And another ACES training on the 13th. And we have a Helpline Center University on April 7th. So we have those coming up, and then Delta Dental Van is also coming up the first week of May. So if you have anybody in mind, just have them call to one.
My updates are the same. United Way. I'm at the Helpline Center here in Nelson. I am doing the Helpline Center University on April 10th, that United Way is hosting. It's an hour-long kind of training where you can learn how to navigate our website, how I show you how to use our database. You can look for resources. We have a ton of fun stuff on there that you don't even know about, so it's okay to show you guys. You can look at stats of who's calling into 211 and for what, who's calling in 988 and for what, based on communities statewide. Making help sheets, making your own resource guide, so it'll be very informational. Feel free to come, free lunch.
Yeah, lunch at all.
Provided by Start SD and again, with the help of United Way. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm the person who's expanding the Helpline Center Network Care Program in Brookings and Watertown communities. We have a bunch of communities that have our agencies that have onboarded already, really promoting care coordination, whole person care, streamlining referrals, agency to agency. Some exciting news, we onboarded a Vera Behavioral Health outpatient clinic, so we'll have their community health worker in the system. We talked with the school district for their social worker, they're super excited, they're trying to get it approved so that we can get them on board as well. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming up.
I'm happy with the back program and, I'm really looking forward to summer. It's been a little stressful because the weather just doesn't, I told somebody Mother Nature is my new boss. And she's gonna listen to her and do whatever she tells me to do. As far as events, we don't have any events planned or anything. I will be up at the college Monday. Or can't remember the name of it, but they have a little set up for.
Oh, the League State Fair.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
so hoping to get an intern for the summer, if that's something. Kim's listening. to.
Yeah, I am.
Mine are all placed, but I
I have been trying to work with somebody, women that I have that I'm working with, have the exact same email except for one letter. And I can get confused and keep sending it to the wrong person. Anyway, sorry about that.
Oh.
but hopefully they're- I like working with the college kids, so.
Mhm.
try to get that. And other than that, I'm just gonna go put the site back. It was looked really nice yesterday. I mean, the room looks so big when you get all the food out of there. Now it's got to go back.
I'm Bree with United Way, and my only other update is, did everyone receive an info exchange newsletter? Okay, so if you haven't or you need someone else signed up, let me know, but that's how we're gonna start additionally promoting the topic of the month for our next meeting and like any changes or locations or times with BCMP as well.
Travis with Beta. I don't have any events planned yet, but definitely looking for summer because the school year's been just hectic, but, I don't have any.
We are working on the promotion for our open house that we'll have for the building. Like that May 18th, probably like a 3 to 6 p.m. Cupcakes, juice, and coffee, and cool beans kind of thing. Being able to do tours and those kinds of activities. And then the rooms like this, and then there's smaller conference room number 2. And the owl, like those are all open for folks to be able to come and use the rooms, borrow the owl. the owl typically lives at, Macquarie Gardens with Lisa Moreaux, who uses it every week for Toastmasters.
Yeah,
And so, but that's the only time she really needs it, so it can be out being used to other places as well.
If anybody else needs one, I have one too, that's 1 hour a month, so.
That was it. I'm Brianna Reader from Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness in place for Amy Ward. We don't have any events coming up, but we are expanding services, getting interns for summer and have lots of exciting things with internally happening, so.
Jake McGlade with Brookings Area Habitat for Humanity. We just completed our event at the Swift Health Center on Saturday, so that was our big thing. So I don't think we'll have a groundbreaking in April for a new family out in our Timberline, in the Timberline edition. So we'll have that, and then my next project is in May. We will host we're gonna have to do the community gardens up north of homeowners, have a gardening seminar. So we'll have like a weekend where you just gotta get it started, and then that will go all summer. So it's kind of my next thing. Otherwise, Habitat in general, I think otherwise our next thing's caravanners start coming in May. So.
was Nailed Runway successful?
Yep, every year I think we get more people. There's clearly, I mean, you could just eyeball that there was more people in the room. We went up by about, I think, probably $10,000 or $12,000 in revenue, so it seems to get a little better every year.
I'm Erin with CSU Foundation. We have celebration of philanthropy on April 27th. So really our big culminating event for our lifetime giving folks. And then within that, we have board meetings and all those fun things. And then the Jack Rabbit Athletic Scholarship auction that would be on that Saturday. So kind of leading into graduation. And then for me personally, just starting to get ready for One Day for State, which will be on September 7th. For those that it affects, the street closure.
But the opportunity to.
And you have 3,000 people outside of your building.
Oh, average.
Well,
I just gave my update, thank you.
Well, it's highly pertinent to what we're going through because we're planning for two big events, things this summer. June 10th is our day of celebration, grand opening of the Dakota Modern Oscar Howe retrospective that is currently at the Portland Art Museum, started in New York City at the Smithsonian National Museum for American Indians, and ends South Dakota Art Museum, and not at the Denver Art Museum or the Philbrook that had been vying for it. South Dakota, but it is really appropriate that, so Oscar Howe is the most celebrated South Dakota Native American artist and really nationally, internationally recognized as a groundbreaker and important artist. And this exhibition covers his whole life of work, which includes works from lots of works of USD, where he was an instructor, quite a few from our collection, and then lots from other museums and then private collections that have never been seen publicly. So big deal. It's such a big deal. We have to close for almost a month just to install it. So many pieces of repainting walls and signage and vinyl. But that grand opening will be public, free, all day Saturday with artists, with curator talks, artist talks, performances out on Anderson Plaza. Out and then onto the green, and we will have a massive tent on the green, which is our backup for weather. And just, and so, yes, we're busy planning that and fundraising for that. And then throughout the summer, the exhibition will be open, but we won't be doing the big grand events, one-off. So that's from June 10th through September 17th. And we really expect that to be, heard from someone from Washington DC who's traveling here for that and was concerned because she hadn't seen it on our website yet, because we haven't got that approved yet from the Smithsonian, but we really do expect that people will come to Brookings for this, and hopefully that means lots of other things that they'll be doing here. And then we will be doing our second annual Anderson Plaza Performance Series, Tuesday nights in June and July, 6 to 7:30, different performing artists from jazz to folk to Native American things. It's all being finalized at this point, but those are just real informal, and for us, that's been a way to reach out to the community in a way and get families that might not be able to come to the art museum generally or think about it. Certainly older people, students. I'm meeting next week with the SDSU. Let's see, which one is this? This is an advertising class that's doing social media, and so they'll be putting in a plan that we may or may not implement. I think it's a good practice for them to do social media plans around both events, in 2 separate teams. Lots of fun stuff, yeah. And our educator, Abigail, is doing lots with kids, free tours in the museum, going out to the McCrory and one day for stays, downtown for sundown. We'll be getting stuff, hopefully stuffed in backpacks to tell people about some things coming up. So.
And then Kim Gustafson with SDSU, the nonprofit major. I'm just working on getting them ready to go for their internship and graduation and just, yeah, so far, all the ones that are interning or in the internship class that are mine have already got their internships secured. And then a lot of them that are graduating already have jobs lined up too. So so far, we're at 100% job placement rate. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only graduated, I think, like 15 or 16 people. Found jobs, so that's good. If people have advice or projects or things, I mean, you're welcome to share them with me. Always looking for new ideas or new ways to partner. So thanks for letting me join your group.
Yeah, happy to have you. Yeah, Jessica, we've haven't really ignored you, but we kind of have.
I've been here. So our big event right now that's been ongoing is called Museum on Main Street Crossroads, a traveling exhibit. And it is now in Sturgis. It was previously in Brookings, and then it went to Yankton, now Sturgis. And then, of course, our big event that we're getting ready for is the Festival of Books, and that will be September 22nd to the 24th in Deadwood this year.
Good. Well, thank you. Well, do you want to come along with us for the tour?
Sure. If you can't, otherwise, if you can't, that's cool.
I don't know if that technology.
Yeah. I'd say come on over, and I'm sure they'd be happy to show you around.
I will do that. That would be awesome.
And all of the things that you guys have about, any events and trainings, whatever that you have going on, you're welcome to put those on the United Way community calendar.
Okay.
As a way just to help spread the word. Happy to do that. And then we'll send out all of the different training opportunities that Ann talked about, but you can sign up for those on our website, and those are all free as well, so.
And we'll also this time we'll be doing like we did where we did one of the grocery store for families. Because some of the items get smaller, the price gets higher. The cereal is like about 4 bites anymore now, so we have family size boxes of cereal and different items for them to pick up instead of just, they also get a bag too. The kids like bags, so we'll be doing that too.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to have actually a really fun art making experience tomorrow, we have a another community, free community art day. And this one is with Eileen Binkley, this local artist, and it's gonna be collaging. And the works that she's done as examples are definitely, I mean, they're not there's kitty versions of them, but they would be fun things that you would enjoy having on your wall in your office. So, and that's free, that's just a come and go.
What day is that?
10 to 1.
Also, as summer kicks off, I know most of you guys are actually in the Health Care Center database. So if you have any food programs that you're doing, events, please call 211 and we can put them in there. Because we do have a lot of people calling in the summer asking, what can I bring my kids to?
Oh,
And so those events will pop up. And when our specialists are looking for certain things, it'll pop up. So feel free to call and they'll see if it qualifies and then they can get you all set up.
Okay.
All right, well, we are happy to do a tour for those that haven't been through or want to stick around.
Oh, there again, I forgot to pass. Oh, this around.
Thank you.